Hello and welcome to yet another video on my channel. In today's video, I'll be talking about a quick challenge I'm doing, like a sprint in Portuguese, but you can do it in any other language as well. And the question is it worth it to focus on one specific thing for a number of days? Will I see growth? Will I see results? And will it make me feel better about the language I'm learning? So in my specific case, I'm going to be focusing on Portuguese grammar for the next 10 days. I already speak Portuguese, but I really don't know a lot about the grammar. I basically used all the grammar in Spanish I already know and then focus on the differences whenever I hear them. Yet, I'm not familiar with all the rules I should probably be knowing in Portuguese and all the irregular verbs and the subjunctive and all of that stuff. So I'm committing to Portuguese grammar for the next 10 days. And why specifically 10 days? There's two reasons for this. First of all, committing to grammar for 30 days might just be a little bit too much because grammar isn't really like the juiciest part of language, anyways. So I think this is also an interesting period of time for you if you want to improve one of your languages and specifically the grammar. Also, I'm choosing it because I'm going on a holiday in 10 days and I'm not quite sure how much energy and time and internet connection I will have when I'll be in Albania, which is where I'm going. So let's just give you some more information about how to do a quick growth challenge, kind of like a sprint. How do we approach this and what should you be aware of? And I'll be doing something every single day. And at the end of the video, I'll share what my experiences were, what I could do better, what I learned, if I saw results, and all of that. So let's get right to it. Before we start this challenge, this quick sprint, we need to do some prep work. We need to do some prep work because if we just start day one without knowing what we're supposed to do and why we're doing it and who is involved or what is involved, we'll just probably give up already on day number one. And we don't want that to happen. So on day zero, which is prep day, we need to just define, like grab a piece of paper, open a Word document, and define, first of all, why you're doing this challenge. Question number one, why? My why is that, as I said, I kind of want to avoid using Portuñol and I want to speak better Portuguese. So for me to express myself better in Portuguese so I can make even more friends from Brazil and Portugal, I really speak it with them instead of English, then this challenge will come in really, really handy. So for me, that's my why. What is yours? Then I need to decide when I will be able to do this. How much time do I actually have to study? And in my case, I usually work from like, the early afternoon up until the evening. So then I can use the mornings. So I've decided to usually do this challenge from 8 to 9. And I mentioned usually in the Word document where I wrote my plan because in case something happens in the morning, I can still do it in the afternoon or in the evening. Versus if you say I have to do it from 8 to 9 and then it's 8:30 and then you never do it. So make it like commit to it enough, but then also be flexible for changes. So I said I will usually do this from 8 to 9. Then I also defined what I will be using. Like, what resources am I actually using? How am I going to improve? So, in my case, to improve my Portuguese grammar, I first thought, oh, maybe I will watch YouTube videos. I looked through YouTube and I already realized I got really distracted and I had to look for all the grammar, whereas I actually don't know about all the grammar I'm lacking. So instead of using YouTube, I decided I'll be using two books for this challenge, for this quick challenge. One is called Gramática Ativa 1, and the other one is called Gramática Ativa 2. So I'll be using two grammar books that give me exactly the structure I need. So there's explanations and there's exercises, and that's exactly what I need right now because there's a lot of like irregular verbs, subjunctives, all of this stuff that I don't 100% master in Portuguese. So this is what I'll be needing for this specific language mini marathon. So this is what I'll be using. Then as a backup, how is, when I need more explanations and the book is not clear enough, then I'll be using the Google search bar. Basically, I will just look for, okay, give me more examples of the subjunctive, or give me more examples of irregular verbs. So I can make sure I really have all the information I need about grammar. So then I'll be using Google search. And as a last resource, I might also book in some classes with a teacher, but I need to check my availability, because teachers can also really correct your grammar mistakes. So I'm considering that. But for now, I have a really clear goal, which are the books every single day, taking notes with the books, studying. And I also have a Brazilian friend who is extremely helpful and supportive. So if I need a question, if I have a question, for example, hey, do you guys really use this grammatical structure, or is it not important? If he hardly uses it, I'm not going to use it either, because he's from Brazil and I'm interested in Brazilian Portuguese. So I know really well what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on improving my grammar that I can use with Brazilians. That's it. Now, what else? Also, define your why, your what, your how, your when, also how long. So for me, as I said, from 8 to 9, it's just more or less 1 hour a day, because I have other commitments. So this challenge is something that anyone can do, even if they don't have a lot of time. But if you have more time, maybe you want to say 2 hours a day, one in the morning and one in the evening. So it completely depends on you how intensive, how immersive you want this challenge to be. Okay, so in this video, I will be sharing my progress of just 10 days. And at the end of the video, I'll share what I thought of this experience. Is it worth it to really focus on a specific part of the language for just a number of days? Or will I not see any results and progress? I mean, it's possible. Am I even able to commit to 10 days? Or does life become so hectic that I am not? It's all stuff I'm going to be evaluating after 10 days. So let's go to day number 1. Dia 1. So I have been studying Portuguese grammar for 10 days straight. And now I'll be telling you what the experience was like for me, what I would do if I would do another challenge like this, and what I would not do. So let's go. First of all, what did I actually learn in 10 days? Is it possible to really dive into a topic, or is that a little bit too optimistic? Well, I did focus on my plan. I focused on the 2 books that I have for Portuguese grammar. And I really like the books. They give a really good overview of what the Portuguese grammar is really like. And so I really just used those. And I was super happy I had already chosen these resources before I started, because otherwise I would have completely gotten distracted and I would have definitely wasted a lot of time. So I highly recommend that as well, that if you do this challenge, select the resources beforehand, because otherwise you just get overwhelmed by other things you can use and then you kind of like waste a lot of time. So because of this, I was able to really focus on the Portuguese grammar, and I've managed to, within 10 days, get a big overview of the Portuguese grammar. And yeah, so the first day, wanted to do everything in the book, and then really soon realized that it was just too much. So I did focus on all the explanations. I went through both books, Gramática Ativa 1 e Gramática Ativa 2, for like the grammatical explanations. But on the first day, I also tried to do the grammar exercises, and I just got a little bit not overwhelmed, but I realized it was just so time consuming. Also, on the first day, I started to write down some words I've learned in the exercises, and then I realized it was as also super time consuming. So really just stick to that one thing you wanted to do. And the thing I wanted to do was to get an overview, and that's why I went through all the grammar explanations in the past 10 days. And I took a lot of notes in this notebook. There's like pages of notes about the grammar, tenses, and I just took notes of all the explanations so that they stay like, so I retain these rules better. And when I actually speak Portuguese, I realize what mistakes I'm making, or if someone is correcting me, I actually understand why they're correcting me because I've seen that in some of the grammar books. So, really, again, advice here is to stick to the plan you had, stick to the original plan. And yes, I have basically finished the two books. There's some chapters in the second book that I didn't get to finish. So probably a challenge that's 14 days might be more beneficial because then you're rushing less. But then again, it depends on the resources you're using. Maybe you're using a really thin book. So then you can say, okay, it's just a challenge of 5 days. But now I had two big books. So 10 days was a little bit on the short side. If I do it again, I would do 14 days. But then, as I said, it really depends on the resource you want to use. So take that into account. The other thing I want to say is that, as I said, I kind of like rushed this whole challenge because I'm going on a holiday. So make sure that if you do a challenge like this, you take this into account, you take into account what other things are happening in your life, and you really allow yourself to have this time with the language. So you allow yourself to study between half an hour and 1 hour a day. Because when I reached like 40 minutes or 45 minutes or 1 hour, I realized I really, really felt calm because I was in control. I was focusing on the language, and that was the only thing I had to do. And it really felt like a little bit of self-care and like making progress because I saw I was learning things in this language. So please do this challenge if you can commit to at least half an hour a day. And the second tip related to this is if there's a really busy day and you really do not have half an hour, don't stress about it. I had a day like that in this challenge. So what I did is just learn 5 to 10 minutes because it was better than nothing. If I would have done nothing, I would have gotten demotivated. I would have maybe stopped with the challenge, which is not something I wanted to do. So instead, I was like, okay, it's better than nothing. Let's just do these 5 to 10 minutes before going to sleep. And I felt proud of myself. I felt like, oh, yes, I still did something. And I actually looked at some of the rules I was going to read the next day. So it's still really, really better than nothing. And you kind of like keep that momentum. So that's really nice. As I said, know what your plan is, know what your resources are, allow yourself time to study, take into account what else is happening in your life. And as I said, better little than nothing. And the last tip about the challenge that I did, I asked for help with one of the things. There was something in the grammar book. It was really confusing. It was about the imperative in Portuguese, and the book says one thing, the internet said another thing. And then I was just like, so how do people actually say this? So don't worry if you don't understand something during the challenge, just ask for help. And I did that on italki. The link is below. It's a platform where people can book classes with a tutor, one-on-one classes. And I'm actually on there as a teacher, so that's why I talk about it so much. What I did is I actually booked a class with a Brazilian teacher on there, so I could ask him all the questions I had about the grammar book. So I literally had like half an hour of conversation with him or 45 minutes of conversation with him. And then I was like, okay, can I ask you something? I have a bunch of these grammar questions. And that's what I really like as a teacher as well. If someone comes to me and says, like, hey, I'm learning Dutch and I have all these questions. Do you mind if I ask you all these questions? So that's what teachers are for. So I asked him, like, okay, how do you do the imperative in Portuguese? And especially in Brazil. And so he really helped me with that. And that was great. Um, so again, don't worry if you have to ask for help, do it. You can either find teachers, you can look online, you can ask a friend who is native in the language, and that's really, really nice. Or you can use forums. I've seen it on Reddit before, or Quora, one of these forums. You can just write something on there like, hey, I am wondering how you make this kind of sentence in Portuguese or in French or all of that. So that is it for the challenge. And soon I'll be doing one for Chinese when I come back from my holiday. and I'm settled back in my normal life again. So in September, I'll be doing a challenge for Chinese, the basic expressions, the basic words, but more information on that soon. So see you soon in another video, and check out some of the videos I already have on my channel. Bye.